So the basics of this chapter is that we talked about all these molecules and how they interact. And we wanted to give you two simple examples of how those molecular structures and the bonding in between them create these physical characteristics that we see in our everyday life. So the first example that we talk about is fatty acids. Those are like saturated fats, trans fats, and it's like milk or butter, oil, that sort of thing. So the thing that you need to know here is that the length and how many bends or kinks there are will change the melting point and boiling point of the material. So more specifically, if the fatty acid chain, this one for example, is longer, then it's going to have a higher melting and boiling point. As in, it's going to be harder to separate from other chains just like it. If it's shorter, like this trans fat here, if it's shorter, then it's going to have a lower melting point or boiling point. Then we also have kinks or bends. Now if we have one bend compared to two bends, the one with two bends will have a lower melting point and boiling point. These are easier to separate from each other. So if we were to rank these, you'd be able to rank them from lowest melting point to highest melting point and boiling point. And that's the skills that you need to know about fatty acids. Okay, now this is the second example, silicates. This is another example of how the atomic structure creates these physical characteristics that we can see with our eyes. So three silicates that we talk about is asbestos, mica, and quartz. And from the picture, you need to identify that asbestos, from figure 24.12, you'll see that picture. Asbestos is metal, but it breaks off in these strings. And then mica is also a silicate, but because of its structure, it breaks off in these plates, or these plates. And then quartz, because of its structure, even though it's a silicate, just like asbestos and mica, it will break off when it breaks or falls, it'll come off in chunks. And then one other skill that you'll need to have is identifying which one is asbestos, mica, and quartz. So in the book, figure 24.17 shows the atomic structure of asbestos. And you can see here these, and imagine them coming out of the whiteboard in these strings. And that's why it breaks off in strings. And then mica is right here. You can see that there's these plates. And if you look at 24.16, it'll be a little more clear. And again, these are just the two examples of some atomic structures that we see in everyday life.